Today I'm going to show you everything you need to know about acid adjusting drinks. So this might sound intimidating, but fear not friends, that's exactly why this video exists. It's a really simple technique once you understand some fundamentals, but it's incredibly powerful and can really transform and level up your drinks. So you might have seen or heard of this technique being used in some of the best bars in the world, but it's never been cheaper or more accessible to acid adjust drinks at home. And that's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. In this video, I'm going to talk about exactly what acid adjustment is, why you'd want to use this technique, how you can do it yourself in really kind of easy, simple to follow steps, and also give you some examples of how you can use this. And this isn't just for cocktails, it can be used in non-alcoholic soft drinks, in iced tea, it's really good in, but also in like barista competition style signature drinks. And I actually use this technique in my World Championship winning drink, the Frozen Natural Experiment. So if you want to see me fresh-faced delivering that routine, I'll put it in the description below. But for now, let's talk about acid adjustment. All right, so what exactly is acid adjustment? This could be a really, really long section, but I'm going to summarize it in one sentence. So essentially all we're doing is adding powdered acids like these into a liquid to change the level of acidity or sourness in that liquid, and then the balance of the drink that you add it to. So this is a really powerful technique, way simpler than you might think it is, but it can really change and transform the drinks you add it into. So as an example, if you wanted to make a drink which had grapefruit as the primary acidity, because limes or lemons are much more acidic than grapefruits, you need to add a lot more grapefruit to get the level of acidity that you would from a lemon or lime. So adding way more grapefruit juice is going to make the drink more grapefruity. It's going to overpower the other ingredients. So in order to get that level of acidity and balance right in the drink, bring up the acidity of the grapefruit using an acid, sub it in the place of either lemon or lime juice whenever you see that in a recipe, and you get a perfectly balanced drink. You also don't have to limit yourself to citrus fruits here, which obviously breaks a lot of traditional boundaries. You can make acidic ingredients from other juices. So sour cherry juice is your primary acidity is really interesting. Sour strawberry juice, sour apple juice, sour grape juice, all of these are really powerful and they bring the acidity to the drink without the flavor of lemon or lime. So opens so many new doors, gives you loads of opportunity to create brand new drinks and fine tune the ones you already love. So when I teach people about acid adjustment, there are essentially 4 things that I look at. 2 of which are the key components, the acid and then the juice that you're using. And then 2 are kind of primary considerations. Number 1, how acidic you want the end result to be. And number 2, how the acid and the juice interact. So we're going to talk about all these things now, starting with the different acids that are available to us. So although this seems like a super kind of nerdy technique, don't be put off. It's actually really accessible, really cheap as well. You can buy these powdered acids fairly easily these days. I just buy mine from Amazon, but you could probably pick up your own from a health food store. I'll link the ones I use in the description below so you can get the same ones. But the main thing to consider here is that they're food grade. So I can get 99% of my acid adjustment done using 4 different acids: citric, malic, tartaric, and lactic. And each of these brings something a little bit different to the end result. So as a quick disclaimer here, I'm going to be kind of broadly generalizing these acids to give you the kind of key characteristics. As with anything in nature, it's much more complex than that. You can't just say, this fruit contains this acid, this fruit contains that acid. They might have more of one than the other, but as with anything in nature, it's always a blend. There are a number of different acids in every fruit. So first of all, we've got citric acid. If I were to describe this in one word, I'd say sour, which kind of seems really simple. But if you think of a lemon, it's pretty hard to deny this is very sour. Citric acid obviously is the primary acid in citrus fruits. Lemons, grapefruits, oranges, limes, sour, kind of familiar. Think of sour sweets and citrus fruits. Next up, we've got malic acid, which I use quite frequently as well. Again, in one word, I describe this as crisp. So if you take a bite into a green apple, particularly a kind of underripe one, you get that very crisp, sharp acidity. Kind of leaves your mouth almost watering, but also kind of dry at the same time. That's your malic acidity. Next up, we've got tartaric acid, which I use fairly frequently. And a one-word description of this for me would be tart. So think of your grapes. Red grapes in particular have a really high level of tartaric acid. Green grapes do have some as well, but tartaric being the primary acidity in grapes. And then finally, we've got lactic acid. So if I were to describe this in one word again, I'd say yogurty. So think of your kind of sour milk products, yogurt, kefir. So lactic acid can be used to kind of imply creaminess without having to add it into your drink. It's really good in a milk punch. So now we understand what these acids broadly bring to the drink. You might think, great, I can ditch my expensive citrus fruit, ditch my expensive fruit juices, make an acid solution by dissolving acid into water, but that's actually really not a great substitution. If you think about a lime, this doesn't just bring acidity to a drink, it brings texture and it brings flavor. And if you just put your acid solution in place of the citrus fruit, you end up with a drink which is watery because you've added so much water and lacking in flavour and texture. So you're going to need a juice to add this to, which we're going to talk about now. So now we've talked about the first component of acid adjusted juice, which is the acid. We need to start talking about the other one, which is the juice. So the first thing to know here is that the kind of industry standard when it comes to acid adjusted juices is we're going to bring up whatever juice you choose to kind of match lime at 6% acidity. So going back to our example with acid and water, this isn't a case of adding 6 grams of acid to 100 grams of water. That actually ends up with a slightly less than 6% acid solution because you've actually got 106 grams of liquid. What you actually want to do here is add 6 grams of acid to 94 grams of water, giving you 100 grams in total, which is actually an accurate 6% acid solution. So because we're going to be adjusting juices which already have some acidity, you can't just add 6 grams of acid to 94 grams of the juice, because that'd actually end up with too much acid because we've already got acidity in the juice itself. So a couple of things to note here. First of all, fruits vary. Nature has a very powerful effect on acidity. Things like variety, things like terroir, things like ripeness, all impact the kind of acidity you find in those fruits. So take what I say with a pinch of salt, adjust, taste, most importantly, and make sure you get an end result that you're happy with. So with this in mind, just remember these numbers are an average, and the numbers I give will just really help you get close to that magic 6% that we're looking for. So first of all, lime juice. This is around about 6% acidity, made up of citric and malic, so you don't need to adjust this to get it up to that 6%, because that's what we're aiming for. Lemons sit at around about 5% acidity. So in order to get this to that magic 6%, you'd add 1 gram of acid to 99 grams of your juice. But this is kind of pointless, it's very close as it is, and lemon juice is delicious. So when you talk about grapefruits, this is when things get interesting. Grapefruits, despite being quite bitter, actually sit at around about 3% acidity. So for this, you need to add 3 grams of acid to 97 grams of grapefruit juice to get it to around about that 6%. Oranges have a little bit less acidity, around about 1%. So to get this up to that 6, you're going to go 5 grams of acid to 95 grams of orange juice. You can also apply this to non-citrus juices. 2 of my favorites are cherry and pineapple, both of which tend to sit around about 1%. But again, some cherry juices are very sour, some pineapple juices are very sweet. So again, just bear that in mind that there is some variation there. So now we understand our acids, we understand our juices. We need to bring the two together to get the end results that you're looking for. And there are countless ways of doing this. A kind of traditional way would be to go 2 parts of citric acid to 1 part malic acid, bring that up to 6% to kind of mimic that lime-like acidity. You could add what's already in the fruit, so you could add extra malic acid to your apple juice, extra tartaric acid to your grape juice, but you can break all these rules. You can make something really interesting which kind of contrasts the acidity that's already there, making like a creamy apple juice, which would be quite delicious. You can make an extra tart cherry juice using lots of tartaric acid, maybe some citric in there as well. And there are so many things you can do, so you really need to experiment. So that gives you a huge range of ingredients to start playing with. Let me know in the comments what you're gonna make. And if you need some inspiration on how you can use acid adjusted juice, you can click on this video where I give 3 amazing examples that I'm really excited about. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.